Hello and welcome back to another Path of Exile 2 video. Today I have a final update for the Tactician leveling guide for 0.5. I was doing some testing on stream in the end game of swapping over to spears, and what I found when I swapped around level 70 was that I just didn't really have enough boss damage to make the swap worth it. And so my league start plans have changed a little bit. I'm going to be playing the crossbows for longer, probably until at least level 80, maybe 85, 90, something like that. And so what I have done here is in the mobalytics guide for the leveling for 0.5, I have added an early in-game tab. And so here I kind of, reiterate, I switched to early in spears. And I was also playing an SSF just to kind of imitate having, crappy gear on League launch, but it was significantly worse even than you would have at this point into League launch. So I don't know. It was making it hard to test, and I just think that crossbows are just the better option to make some currency early. So that's my revised plan for the 0.5 League launch. This video is going to be a lot less editing, I would say, than some of my other videos because I'm just going to try to run through this. It is 1:24 and I would like to go to bed so I can be rested for the league start tomorrow. I'm going to be doing a 24-hour stream. So I just wanted to get this video out there, just kind of recapping what I found in my testing on stream and just kind of, give you my updated plan for the league launch. So in the in-game, the Painter's Servant unique gloves here, these will be a very nice pickup on league launch. So this converts a third of your damage into each element, and you also gain as extra of all elements. And so what this allows you to do is you can take Elemental Conflux and Trinity as soon as you get your third ascendancy, which is the persistent buffs have 50% less reservation. And so the Elemental Conflux will give you more elemental damage of one element, and it randomizes every 8 seconds. And so because we're converting all of our damage into all types, this is just like a very consistent buff the whole time because it doesn't matter what element it chooses because it's going to be buffing the same amount of damage. And then we also have Trinity, which what this does is it builds up resonance as you deal elemental damage. And this really benefits from having the Painter's Servants because you're doing very similar amounts of elemental damage of each type. And so it lets you build up that resonance quicker. And this just also is just a multiplier on your elemental damage. And some other things, I have added some support gems, some extra ones to kind of fill out on the rest of the skills here. One thing I do want to point out though is in my original leveling build, I said that we need life leech on our artillery ballista, and I had the right idea, but I picked the wrong support gem actually. So you actually want to take Font of Blood because this is what gives you the life leech for this instead of the support gem that's called life leech. That support gem makes the ballista heal itself and not you. So you need to take the Font of Blood instead, and I have updated that for the earlier acts as well. Just one quick clarification. But the rest of this, pretty self-explanatory, just some extra support gems to throw on your crossbow skills. And then I will also go over the tree here. So what we're doing here is this pathing might look a little bit weird, but it's going to make sense later because what we have done here is get this very close to what it's going to look like on my lightning spear version to minimize the amount of nodes you have to respec. And so when we per se go over this way, and we're taking this, and then we're taking this, and this. These are all things that we're also doing on the lightning spear. So none of these will have to be respect. Well, I say that these are on a different weapon set, or some of these nodes are on a different weapon set, but that's saving you half the cost because you've already taken the node, and it's still very beneficial for the crossbow. Because obviously once you switch over to spears, you're going to like dump these grenade nodes, these nodes here, these nodes here. And we're going to move more to this side of the tree. Obviously take the spears here. So, but having this kind of foundation laid out is going to allow for a much easier time respecking. So that's kind of the thought process here. And again, when you get your third ascendancy, go for a solid plan so you can stack some spirit skills. I have also added the quest rewards that you need to choose. And then let's see here. I don't believe I changed anything else about the gear. I just put the Painter's Servant here just to show you that. But again, on League Start, the gear will be somewhat limited, but compared to what I have listed in this planner, I mean, there is no way that you would have worse gear than this at level 70, level 80, something like that, if you're in Trade League. So, again, this is my kind of updated plan for League Start, is to play this much further to about level somewhere between 80 and 90. And that brings me to the next section of this video. So we have my Lightning Spear Tactician. And so I actually have already, made this build, and it's here. This is the character. It's just, I didn't feel like I had enough boss damage to justify fully fleshing out this build here. Because on League Start, I will not have swapped to Lightning Spear at this point. But I still want to go through this just so that you kind of have an idea of what that's going to look like. And I will update this periodically. I'll be updating this as I make progress and, pick up some new gear, stuff like that. But this is kind of ideally what you would want as kind of a baseline for T15 blasting. This is what I want my character to look like, basically, when I switch over. And one thing is, you do really need this unset ring if you want Herald of Ice, because it gives you an extra skill slot, and we are using 10 when you only have 9 base. So make sure, if you're wanting to stack all of the buffs here, get an unset ring. Gear is subject to change. I'm sure we'll find some better options on League Start, but this is just a few things I saw real quick and just wanted to throw it here. The spear here, assuming this can be rune forged, I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't. It says it requires level 21. I think they said anything under level 55 can be rune forged. This spear looks like a pretty good option in terms of it should be like dirt cheap to pick up, and then you just rune forge it yourself. And it gives increased melee and increased projectile damage if you've dealt damage with the opposite in the last 8 seconds. And we're also, on our tree, there's also a node here that kind of does a similar thing. I mean, it's boosting if you've done the opposite in the past 8 seconds. Now, it's not just straight damage, but, we're kind of playing into that whole combo style of, we're using our Lightning Spear, but then we also have some melee mixed in with Primal Strikes and Thunderous Leap. And so that's just, free extra damage on both sides with the spear. And assuming, again, it can be rune forged, this will have much higher physical damage and just DPS overall. And then again, we're going to go with Painter's Servant. So we can do the same tech with Elemental Conflux and Trinity. Now, Trinity is going to take a lot more to set up than what I have here. So that's going to be for a later version. But we're going to start out with the Elemental Conflux and then kind of figure that out later. This Heat Shiver Helmet. We gain 1% of cold damage as extra fire per 1% chill magnitude on an enemy. And this is really nice because we are converting our damage into a third of cold. And so as we're chilling enemies, we're going to be gaining extra fire damage. So that's, again, very nice because we have our elemental damage perfectly balanced. And so this is going to give us some nice chill. Even though we are using Lightning Spear, we're still going to be doing a lot of cold. So that should be a nice extra damage boost. Ingenuity, if it's cheap, I mean, you can't really go wrong with it. It just increases your rings. And we're just going to be looking for huge amounts of flat damage and some life and resistance on our rings. And so this is going to be a decent belt, assuming it's cheap. If it's not cheap, we can find something else. Obviously, Headhunter would be incredible with this build. We'll see if I get that on day 1 or not. I mean, I hope so. Or Mage Blood. Still don't know what Mage Blood does, but you can't go wrong with Mage Blood. So another option. And then the rest of them, all the blank ones, just use, common sense. Flat damage, armor, evasion, max life, move speed, anything like that, resistance. Just, slowly improve your character. But this seems like a good baseline in terms of possible uniques to use if you don't have good rare gear. And besides ingenuity, it should be just dirt cheap for these. So let's get into the skill gems here. And so Lightning Spear is our main clear. And what we're going to do is also use Cull the Weak fairly often. And so we're going to throw the Lightning Spear. And then if there's enemies close to us that can be culled, we just cull them. It's a free frenzy charge or multiple because we have charge profusion. And also just gain 25 as extra for lightning and increase shock chance for 8 seconds on culling. So, as long as you're culling an enemy every 8 seconds, you're going to maintain full uptime and you're getting frenzy charges to empower your lightning spears. And then for our bossing, we have this rotation of we throw 3 storm lances and then we throw 3 explosive spears and then we thunderous leap on it to detonate all of them. And then if you want, you can then use primal strikes. And if they have shock, if the enemy has shock, this will also apply exposure. So then the next time you do your combo of Storm Lance and Explosive Spear and Thunderous Leap, then you also have exposure on them. And with the really bad gear that I had on my SSF playthrough, this requires multiple combos of the Storm Lance, Explosive Spear, Thunderous Leap to kill the map bosses. But, I mean, assuming you have any kind of gear, and especially if you have any of this should just completely demolish your map bosses. Now, whether this will do the same to pinnacle bosses is yet to be seen, but I would feel pretty confident about at least the quest versions of the bosses. But, for the true in-game pinnacle boss farming, this is probably not the right build for that. This is more of a map farming and clear. But, I would assume with good enough gear that this combo here can still handle all of the late game pinnacle bosses. But again, just pointing that out. And then for our spirit gems, we have Herald of Thunder and Ice. Again, this is really nice because we have our Painter's Servant converting our damage. So this makes it really easy to get all of the shock and freeze. And then we have, again, Elemental Conflux. Because of our Painter's Servant, this is just free damage. And then Combat Frenzy with Charge Profusion. And so Combat Frenzy just generates frenzy charges when we pin. And because of our ascendancy, we always pin. Okay, so let's dive into the gameplay demonstration real quick. So for our main clear, we simply throw our Lightning Spear. And then when we have enemies with the blue dot on them, it means we can cull them, which gives us our frenzy charge. And then for our rares and bosses, we use 3 Storm Lances. And then we do 3 Explosive Spears and then Thunderous Leap on top of them to detonate it. So the next rare that I come across, I will show that combo. Alright, on this boss here, I will show you the combo. So we throw 3 Storm Lances, 3 Explosive Spears, and then we jump on top of them. And then it detonates, and then we did some damage. Then you just repeat that until they die. So again, I have pretty bad gear. And so it takes quite a while to kill the bosses. You can see not very DPS. But again, you have good gear, like what's in the planner. This will be perfectly fine. You can also use your primal strikes. This will put exposure on them. Whew. Almost killed me there, but killed him just in time. So, anyways, that's the bossing rotation. And then lastly, let's go into the passive tree. So this, if you remember the other one, this looks familiar. We have the same pathing over to here and up to here and over here. It's just that we have dropped all of the crossbow and grenade nodes here and have used most of our weapon swap. So we picked up these for our melee, and in this version of the build, we have our melee in weapon set 1 and our projectile or spear throwing in set 2. And so this node here is for some stun and attack. This is on our weapon set 1. Then up here for the increased damage for each type of elemental ailment, this is our weapon set 2. And then weapon set 1 over for these melee damage and attack speed nodes. And then also here, we're picking up some increased damage with hits against enemies affected by elemental ailments. Let's talk about what you need to get first. Or actually, we'll do the opposite. We'll talk about what you need last. And so, again, I recommend not switching to this build too early. Like when I switched at level 70, I had very little boss damage. Now the clear was fine. Again, with lightning spear and then the frenzy charges, the clear is fine. It's just the boss damage. You don't really want to have to sit there and throw, 50 of your storm lances and explosive spears to kill the boss. So again, trying to save you some headache, just wait a little bit longer, get a little bit better gear, and then once you swap, then it's going to be great. So here's what you need last. Definitely branching off from here, these are going to be the last nodes you take. 30% chance for lightning damage with hits to be lucky. Not that critical. Increased chance to shock and penetrate lightning res. Only for, in-game bosses. This is some increased ailment chance, which is nice, but we don't need it compared to what else is on the tree. Pinning elemental resistance is good, but it doesn't apply always. So this whole branch here, definitely last. And then I would also say that this here, the Falcon technique, the dexterity stacking for attack speed, and then the extra 25 dex here, these nodes can be saved for last. And so if you omit these starting here, and then if you omit these starting here, that would be what your tree looks like when you switch to this build from the crossbows. But again, I would recommend, level it up further, get past level 80, 85, something like that. Then when you swap, it's going to be much smoother. You're going to have a lot more boss damage, just because you're going to have a lot better gear and more passive points. So that's my recommendation. I'm sure some things will change on the tree. Well, this is the updated 0.5 tree, but I might figure out some different pathing that's more efficient, or maybe there's some nodes that I overlooked, stuff like that. So it may change, but this is the basic shape. And if you were following the crossbow leveling, this really does minimize your respecking, because at the early in-game version of that build, you go this way and you have this entire branch exactly where it needs to be.